Alright, it is 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and I'm right now in Florida. It is currently January 8th of 2026. It seems to be that the age verification, age grouping thing has now finally passed officially across all of Roblox, worldwide, globally, in all states, in all countries of the world. This thing, we hit our D-Day for YouTube in August of 2025. Now we're having it on Roblox 2026, right? This is like a really huge thing. Now, for those who Now, I just want to get this out of the way first because I always have things to get out of the way, and you don't know how many times I said that? Yes, you could probably count how many times I said get this out of the way coming out of my mouth. But, you know, that's just unfortunate consequence that people will still think that Roblox isn't an economy itself. The very economy for Roblox is worth billions of dollars, so I digress. Besides that, we're going to talk about age verification. This is what you came for. People are already selling age-verified Roblox accounts. Insane. This isn't even a joke. It says right here that Roblox has started rolling out new rules worldwide for using chat-to-chat. Players now need to verify their age. This way is a quick selfie or a short video taken in-app. A third-party company called Persona processes securely and deletes the image right away. Players 13 and older can use a government ID to verify. It puts in people in these age groups. Chat is not limited to people in your own group and nearby groups. This basically is like going to kill lots of family-friendly content creators out there. Now, I'm not family-friendly, so I never was. If anybody has been on my channel for at least within a year and a year prior, you wouldn't know this channel is not family-friendly. But for those who are family-friendly channels, yeah, this is your worst nightmare. Like all of this, and I know you're not going to read all this, I'm not going to tell it to you, you get the point. Then we have Deep Humor. Man, if Roblox gets hacked, it would be one of the most catastrophic data leaks of all time. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Because then the Roblox tried posting this today, right? It happened today. Something rolled out in Florida in my place, rolled out in my state, and it's rolling out worldwide. Roblox says, we're committed to providing a safe place to play for all our users, regardless of age. Starting today, our age check requirement to chat is rolling out globally wherever chat is available. Here's the community notes, right? Humiliating Roblox, right? This all is what they always do. Facial age estimation has been shown to have numerous issues, including being easily bypassed, producing false flags, placing adults into underage groups, and vice versa, creating in-game moderation issues, and more. And we have numerous reports and numerous cases of this happening. Then I want to sidetrack into this. This is what Asmongold said about the situation about the protester that was shot and killed and murdered, escaping an ICE agent, lethally taking their life. A US citizen, just so y'all know, so US citizen. This is what he said. A great piece of advice for protesters is to comply with law enforcement and try avoiding running over them with your car. I know this might sound difficult, but it might just save your life. Here's my answer to what he said right here. And I'm gonna say this passionately at the top of my lungs. This fucking piece of shit has to be some of the most worst things to happen in humanity, and all he says for this situation is a lame excuse for someone armed like an ICE agent after this straight up murder. Why the fuck is he still around? Shut your mouth and stay in your place, is what I said around over when Asmongold left this response. That's what I basically said. Then we can finally pay attention to the good people, right? Zoran Mamdani, by the way, congrats. This morning, an ICE agent murdered a woman in Minneapolis. Is a US citizen at that. Only the latest horror in a year full of cruelty. As ICE attacks our neighbors across America, it is an attack on us all. That is a reference to NATO's thing about when you attack one of the countries in NATO, it is an attack on them all. As ICE attacks the neighbors across America, it is an attack on us all. New York stands with immigrants today and every day that follows. We also have Soon Hyde. Look, Paramount has been trying to buy Warner Bros. Consistently, repeatedly, right? And I want to explain how this is working. So, despite being rejected 8 times in a row, look, I've been watching this. Look, this shitty of a company, Paramount, they've been trying to buy Warner Bros. 8 times in a row at this point, with hundreds of billions of dollars, and Warner Bros. Is saying, nah, bro. They were like, no. 8 times. Paramount is still trying to bid for Warner Bros. Netflix has already gotten Warner Bros. Like, Paramount should just leave. Alright. Here is what they said. Our offer clearly provides WBD investors greater value and a more certain expedited path to completion. Throughout this process, we have worked hard for WBD shareholders and remain committed to engaging with them on our merits of our superior bid in advancing our ongoing regulatory review process. Let me translate what they're saying, because it's a bunch of corporate slitcher, right? This is what they're saying. Our offer clearly proves that we want to hold a massive oligopoly in the market industry, in the cinema scene, and we have shown commitment to forcibly tell people that every time we pay them, they should shove it up their ass and listen to us. We want to spend as much as money possible to conquer this entire IP so that we can control the news narrative and as well as the cinematic narrative production wise. Now this is basically what they're saying, right? They won't say it's a bunch of corporate slitch. I'm translating it. So then we finally have Governor Gavin Newsom's State of the State address one last time, and he says, "Thank you, California." We also have saying right here, starting today, completing an age check or ID verification is not required to chat with other users on Roblox. Below is a guide or guide, and you can just this is hopeless, right? Like this is what Roblox did to themselves. They wouldn't deal with predators. They wouldn't deal with the terror moderation. They wouldn't deal with the AI moderation and the dark wave bans and all these other bans that they've been doing. The enforcement bans. Anybody remember that video where I did something and I talked about the enforcement bans? Absolutely. This is great crap. This is what he said basically about this, because this is about to get millions of people are about to disappear. I'm about to go in a game, right? And when I join a game, nobody's gonna be able to speak to me. This amount of censorship is ridiculous, and it's global. So he says this is either going to go really well and we'll all be apologizing to Roblox, or terribly, and every game that requires teamwork and communication absolutely fucking dies, right? This is, you can tell from all the F-bombs I've been dropping that I'm actually severely fucking pissed. Then we have finally a protest breaking out in Minneapolis. Great news, right? Unfortunately, it took the death of a US citizen for something like this to happen, right? Right? And you go, but this, it must have happened historically. No, it did not. Exactly. All right, so really this is what he says during this, and again, this is what Tommy Robinson says. Just so y'all know, Tommy Robinson is one of the, he's also one of those extremists, but he's not United States. He's in the UK. But unfortunately, the UK is the starter of this entire censorship shit. So I can't exactly ignore this motherfucker. This piece of garbage, piece of shit, slisher, motherfucking cunt-ass looking nigga, right? Tommy Robinson, get some friendliness. So he says, thousands of anti-ICE on the streets of Minneapolis tonight. Right, they're gonna watch. Predictable, right? He says, this will turn into riots if the National Guard doesn't jump in quick. Soros and Sun will be licking their lips. Don't let them twist the situation. This guy literally just called a bunch of peaceful protesters terrorists. Insane. And then this was what this was his response, right? This is an official response from this other person responding to the buffoonery he's dropping down. He says, really, this is what he says during this. This son of a bitch really just thinks any protest but his own is considered a terrorist attack. Then he says, what the frell? I mean, insane, right? Insane. This is not gonna get better, right? I did already address the Roblox situation. I did it with the VTuber situation. I've reposted a bunch of shit. This happened. It did get reinstated. The Cry For Me song did get reinstated. But enough to know I'm gonna have to make another video recording what went on, right? It's gonna get worse. I'm gonna have to wait, I haven't followed this person. Wait, let me follow them. Okay. I have to record another video where I have to enter a game, right? I'm gonna go into Brookhaven. And if I'm not able to talk to any person in the next 10 servers, right? In the next video, in the 10 servers, I'm about to test this because of all the censorship and age verification garbage that's going on. We call it AV here. If you're an OG and you've been around since the 2000s, we don't call it age verification, we call it AV. AV is age verification. Easy, simple facts. Everybody knows this. Now, if you're somebody who's absolutely stupid and out of touch, you probably don't know what's going on. So, all I want to say is that if you're new to the channel, I've been at this for 8 years. I literally received a message at 8 p.m. from my own cadets, my own followers and supporters and contributors. They're all like this. They tell me this. I'm not able to talk to any friends I know. Why? Because all their friends are not verified. If you're not verified, you can't chat, you can't add anybody, you can't join their game, you can't talk to them, you can't even like send screenshots to them, you can't even contact them through links and social. You can't do any of that. It's gone. You're just separate. You're just gonna go into a bunch of servers filled with people in ghost towns. Yeah, that's gonna suck for a lot of people, and it will suck for you. Now, for those who have been denying me, who've been saying that this isn't ever gonna happen, last year at the 2024 when we were entering January, I literally warned all of you that this was all gonna happen since 2024. We're now in 2026. Who's the crazy one now? Look, all of you running over to me, asking for help and mercy, asking me for information, asking me for documents and links and articles, going this. You know what? You were right. I should have not doubted you, right? And then that happened, right? And it happened. Now all of you are losing your accounts. Your cousins are losing your accounts. Your friends are losing their accounts. You're all being banned left and right unfairly. AIs are literally terminating or erasing your account entirely. And this is all of not just one social media in one country. This is globally in all social medias as a whole, all social medias globally. Why? So if anybody truly wants to go down this rabbit hole even further, why not? Join a stupid server, link in the description down below. I've been repeating this thing, you wanna know how long for? Since 2023. Since 2023, I've been saying that exact same intro over and over and over. And finally, it has actual full depth, because look, whenever I said back in the day when I started to say this thing called, you know, what do you say about me is what you say about society, right? That one random phrase I do with my videos when I introduce myself, or I do an outro or something like that. Somebody who's been watching the channel for at least 1 to 3 years, you will now know how well that is now aged, right? You said something about me, you bickered, you lied, you spread rumors. And now you're the one who's wrong. And now the ones who said, oh, you're delusional, you're out of your mind, maybe that won't happen this. Let's say those people, right? And then they bickered and spread rumors and lies. And I said, no, I don't think so. Sent them the facts. They didn't listen to me. 1 year later, it happens. So it's like, yeah, not sure, kiddo. You probably want to do your research again, right? If it happens in one country, it will happen in all the other countries. Why? Because it literally said over a year ago on my channel, over a year ago, I said this one thing. Just because it's not happening in your country doesn't mean it doesn't have to happen in your country. For example, right? For example, I remember this person saying, that's just in the United Kingdom. Absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right. It happened in only the UK. I said in 2024. Now we're in 2026. Let's see. How many countries does this make this? Right? We're gonna segue. I'm gonna join my game. We're gonna make this, right? I'm absolutely disappointed in all the... So some of my cadets, they did listen to me around 2022, 2023, right? I think that was quite cool, right? I think that was cool, right? Some people did listen to me. The ones who did put their ears and gave me the ears. The ones who did not give me the ears and continued to bicker around and spread rumors and spread a bunch of misinformation about me online, or maybe in person, maybe around people who are snitching behind my back and saying really misleading things about me. Let's explain the first step, right? When was the first signs of censorship in AV, right? Let's first get there, because this has been my entire life the past over a year. Right? I can surely, at this point, memorize it perfectly well. The major steps that were taken to give us and lead us to this situation currently in the world right now. And this is important. Yes, it is. Right? Well, we're gonna get into who was right, and we're gonna get into who was wrong. And you want to know how many times I tell people they were fucking wrong on this channel? and then it turns out they were actually still fucking wrong, right? Even when I did more research on something that I technically did not know anything about, I had my moments where I said, I made a mistake, I apologize, right? I made mistakes, I apologize. And I did. You want to know how many videos where I started to apologize to people for misinforming them accidentally? On this channel, I take actual responsibility for the mistakes I commit as a human being. Yes, I do. The ones who were wrong, even after I did research on something I technically didn't have too much information on, right? Where it still led up to me having the right idea but not the right concept. I then later informed myself to get more familiar with such concept. The situation led to me being feeling right again. 1. 2024. Several countries in the third world countries aspect hemisphere of the world suddenly went into entire revolutions. Entire protests were done and governments were toppled in 2024. One thing that the governments were focusing on was social media. Social media often had no leaders. There were no leaders in these protests and revolutions back in 2024. We're in 2026. You'll see why this is urgent. Like, this is important. These third world countries, after the collapse, the government said, well, we still don't want this extreme narrative to be passed around our country. So they passed bills saying, what if we were to censor social media? But maybe softly. They said softly. And they said softly, not violently. And I say that jokingly because this is going to get worse as I go. These people were like, yeah, we can bypass that. Let's use VPNs, right? They said VPNs. They said I could just use a 3D model and maybe fake it. They said maybe some software facial recognition to verify if you're 18 or less. Stuff like that. It's kind of simple, boring. Nobody cares, right? It was only in a few countries that were not the United States, right? That's how it started at first. But then I was like, not sure. Because if those countries start doing that, and it happened in Russia and China quite fluently, right? And it happened very abhorrently throughout a struggle and a protest and a revolution. Why would it not start in other countries? I then started doing my research and I started digging. You wanna know how rare it is to hear me say digging in this channel? Yes, I started getting really deep into research because in 2024, I was like, what are those? I noticed bills being written by UK Parliament and EU, European Union. If you don't know what those abbreviations are, it's United Kingdom and European Union. Those two specific English-led multicultural countries in pacts were writing bills to specifically suppress certain information that could threaten government and brand image for several companies that were related to the social media and other sector. This consistently started happening and people were suddenly structuring this out and laying out in math saying these specific bills have existed since 2022, 2023, but nobody really cared because they would never have passed. People would have thought they seem too crazy of bills to be passed. And that was exactly right. They seemed too crazy to pass. Back in 2024, when we saw those bills being written since the 2022 and 2023. So, as those were written, people were like, well, they wouldn't pass those, right? Because it was already fought legally a decade ago. We already had, like, SOPA back in 2013, POSA back in 2019, 2020, 2008, and 2001. We've had situations where governments tried to step in to censor or restrict certain places of the government. The internet was a lot less regulated back in the day, so you all know. But in 2024, they were like, what if we started to actually sign these into law and the regulation? And so they were like, what if we were to restrict a specific set amount of demographic of people away from the internet so that they don't get informed about the current things going on with the world? As they started doing this, People were starting to notice trails of legislation going around throughout these governments of the world. And some of the more smarter people who were early on to notice this pattern, which people like me, right? Researchers like me and all these other people who are around, who I know, who are also researchers and informed people, we were noticing these trails. And we pointed them out early on and said, this is looking quite fishy, it's looking wrong. And so we were like, let's challenge it, right? We have the right to challenge it. And then these governments were like, okay, so if you challenge us and you try to stop us from signing these legislations, right? These laws and regulations, rules and restrictions, they will consider us vigilantes. They then considered us vigilante. And then came in the protests in the third world country protests and revolutions. As this broke down, it went down. It started escalating. Then this large spark came around 2025, February of 2025, when the very first things were passing around, right? We had COPPA, right? COPPA, COSA, COESMA, and the Online Safety Act, right? Online Safety Act, Online Safety Act. We had the COPPA 2.0 was revitalized. The first variation was stopped, and then the second variation was made. It was invented. It was a more harsher version of the very first predecessor from 2001 and 1999, when the first papers around COPPA was around. Now, for those who've been on YouTube for a very stupidly long time like I did, I've been at this for around over 8 years at this point, technically 10 years, but over 8 years, you would remember the adpocalypse, right? The civil war of YouTube, the second adpocalypse, the third adpocalypse, you get the drill, right? We had these crazy things going on, and we had lots of restrictions, numerous battles, and we had the anonymous riots and anonymous revolution. That was quite the thing. But this was more different, right? They started then using the "Let's protect the kids" slogan in order to try to pass these laws in front of older legislators who are too old of age, right? And didn't understand the social media atmosphere of things. They didn't understand the internet. And so they were like, so if we pass these laws, let's convince the older people to help pass us these laws, because they know that older people wouldn't understand. They would just go around with the guise of the thing called "Let's protect the kids." And Roblox stepped in and said, let's do this early, right? YouTube and Roblox were some of the very first platforms, along with Meta, Facebook, and Discord, and Steam, along with Visa and MasterCard stepping in. They were starting to confuzzle with things and get things worse. They started restricting and attacking video games and books and songs and illustrations, and even illustrations within games, digital illustrations. They started attacking museums and universities spread wide, and it started going country by country. This started to wave in, and then suddenly platforms started passing rules that said you need to verify your age. And so came in the age verification bandwidth. When the bandwidth were starting to surmount, right, across these platforms, around over 503 million people disappeared from the internet across the past 6 months. If anybody wants to get the scale of how many 503 million people are disappearing from the internet, that is more population than the United States last 5 years ago, right? That is a lot of people. Now, how did I get these numbers? Simple. All you have to do is look at all of the amount of times that an Amazon Web Service station went down, the amount of time Discord went down, the amount of times Roblox and YouTube and Instagram and Meta and Facebook went down, along with Snapchat. When that went down, people were like, oh Shrek, data leaks. Data leaks started pressing around, and people's IDs and birthdates and certificates and social securities were being leaked repeatedly, along with their emails and passwords. This was happening in the millions, right? It wasn't just the United States, because then I'll get into it, is that once this started to spur and get too crazy, Nepal, one of the very first people that had spiked the second revolution, right, for the Gen revolution, Gen Z revolution, it first started in 2024, but it didn't really count until 2025, where Nepal said, you know what, let's ban social media as a whole, right? They said that. And people were like, no, I don't think so. What did they do? they destroyed their government. They completely collapsed it and destroyed the entire government. They burned all the government buildings and all the rich people's buildings. This happened it took them only 2 days to collapse the entire government. And yes, Sojo did collapse. Ozzy Osbourne did die, and a lot of other famous people did die within a year. But this only got spiked by all the more extremism that was been rising across the internet worldwide. And this was consistent because then there were several laws and numerous reports and videos and documentaries made across this entire year of 2024 and 2025 that were already showing signs that things were spreading across globally. So then fellas that went around saying that it's not happening in their country no longer were able to say it's not happening in their country. And then China basically said to continue it further, they were kind of said, you know what if we were to confiscate all of the mass-produced chips globally that comes from Taiwan? And in terms of like, what if we just invading and did something despicable? And so they were like, let's plan to invade rather than 5 years ahead. They wanted to do it 1 year ahead instead. And now here we are 1 year ahead instead. And now less than a year from Taiwan's invasion, and Nvidia's just basically flexing their money and their worth, which by the way skyrocketed throughout the numerous stock market crashes that happened globally, right? And then suddenly after Nepal collapsed and they started literally doing elections throughout Discord, which is really crazy. It was one of the very first countries that did elections through a social media app, which is insane. Especially historically for Nepal, along with Japan. Now, I wish I could get in Japan, but Japan's just, they threw a mid-ball. Japan literally elected somebody who does not care for their working class, so that's an entire story of its own. But once this started to occur, numerous people were starting to get banned, dropped, completely ban waived, completely enforced and banned, silenced, and then protests started breaking out in these countries. So once these protests started going across these countries, these protests continue on for, let's say, months and months on end, and then we had No King's Day happen like 2 times in a row, breaking numerous records globally, historically. So this 2025 was certainly filled with lots of really ugly and disgusting, awful things, and lots of really cool people showing their true colors. But you know, overall, from what I experienced, along with the people I know who contact me, who are obviously professionals, not a bunch of retards who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, I had to literally go out to numerous famous people and smart people around in the media, of course, right? I'm already in contact with numerous teams with Bernie Sanders and Ben Jordan as well. Ben Jordan, Bernie Sanders, and Anna Mockler, and all these other channels that you can get, like what, the Echelon, Upper Echelon, I guess Upper Echelon. And then we also have Deep YouTube, right? Deep humor, I can't mispronounce it. But overall, Roblox didn't really help things, right? Roblox didn't help things because then they were like, well, they wanted to be an industry leader. As Roblox continued to try to force itself to be an industry leader, they were like, what if we just make things even more shittier? And so they started to make things even more shittier. Ross says like, what if we just split them in different groups, and we also split them in different countries, and then put them into localized groups even further, and then split them into different servers in different sectors, along with destroying most of the family-friendly content making creation market across YouTube and all these other social media. So people like Creekcraft will probably take a really large hit from this because viewers of his probably won't be able to communicate on Roblox because they're most likely unverified. So they're gonna do it on YouTube, which YouTube, by the way, was softcore and everything until they started to say, you know what, let's make it worse. And then came in Sora, and then Sora AI came in, Sora 2. Now there is a first version of Sora, but that one failed. Sora 1 was a failed project. Sora 2 though didn't happen. And then Hank Green became involved, and Neil deGrasse Tyson became involved, Bill Nye became involved, Michikaku became involved, and all these other more smart-ass Muslim brothers came around and said, wait, they're getting into our business. And so a bunch of smart-asses Muslim fellas right there who were studying their fellows, right? Were going through all of this and that, suddenly their lives got politicized by force. And then this is why this red versus blue thing was getting really stupidly out of hand. Because this channel, for those who've been around for at least 3 to 4 years, rather than 1 to 3 years, more like 3 to 4 years, would have noticed originally did not make such politicized content until I was forced into politicizing everything around my content. When this started getting worse, suddenly Elon Musk said, let's just make things even worse. And so he started artificially making streamers, right? Certain content creators and streamers and really high profile figures across different platforms start botting. He started botting them. And so once these channels started growing extremely huge, people were thinking that this huge extremist, violent rhetoric and very predatory, type of information scheme that's been going on for consistently, they thought that it was really profitable. When they saw that it was as pretty profitable because of all the botting that was so obvious, once we started to actually, because of all the data leaks, we're starting to notice the amount of like international bots that are being used to spread out this propaganda across different platforms. With it came in numerous revelations that certainly most content creators you might see around you definitely have spiked views and spiked retention, along with spiked numbers in live viewers who are going around. So, one example is Asmongold, and people absolutely love it when I bring up Asmongold. For some reason love it. I literally did one video. All I did was one video, and I had like over 50 comments just coming in, sending me death threats. And I was like, great. I finally attracted the right audience. A bunch of maggots on the comments. And I was like, let me do this again. And so I started consistently pissing off large, numerous, high-profile content creators who were spreading misinformation and disinformation online. And as this was going, there were a lot of things I learned across the way, which I noticed were services also getting more worse, more garbage, and repeatedly even worse. So as this was going, and the numerous protests went on, and riots started going on, and numerous revolutions were going on, along with the communication efforts, and along with VTubers being, just garbage and thrown around like puppets, while, Twitch has been throwing VTubers like puppets around, just like putting garbage on them. And we had numerous assault cases and numerous death cases. No, this doesn't come without death. No. The GCW, Red vs. Blue, right? Red vs. Blue, and all these other events that have been going on, people have died throughout them. So I've already put how many videos? Over 50 different videos of me literally discussing how people are often literally dying to make sure people don't stay existent while it's still going on. There's a lot of hacking out there, a lot of really awful things going out there. And unfortunately, we do have cases where people throughout protests and movements and revolutions do end up losing their life, along with legislators losing their life, or famous people losing their life, or maybe high-profile journalist figures losing their life. We have numerous videos of this happening, where people are literally getting shot, or even bombed, or even burned, or even being assaulted by numerous people in masks with knives for trying to simply be intelligent and a sensible person. For some reason, like I said, throughout my channel, I've repeated this same phrase because it seemingly pisses off a lot of people when I say it. For some reason, facts are now for some reason considered a form of harassment. For some reason, people, I love this, is people always, when I say it, because they piss off so many people. Whenever I say it, Frells run around, because I usually use facts on this channel, and I'm reloading the page. I use no sleep facts in order to gain attachment from people who watch this channel. And whenever I use facts, I sure do piss off a lot of people when I smartass them. Right? It's supposed to get retention. It's retention bait. It's on purpose. But whenever I use it, suddenly people go, see me. And I'm like, I do not care. I'm gonna fucking fact check you over and over until you cry. And I make you think about killing yourself. That's why to every person who continuously send me death threats, and continuously send me a bunch of slop, right? And I've said this numerous times on this channel, and you've already saw me debated a bunch of very famous people and high profile figures on this channel, and not a single one of them was smart enough to even perceive what I was talking about most of the time, which is hilarious because I often even made this video where I looked like a hypocrite in the video, right? Sometimes I make fun of myself at times. I looked at this channel, I posted where I said that most of your content creators are not building Einsteins. They're just a bunch of likable people. It doesn't mean that they know everything. It doesn't mean that they know everything. You can't, because most chances, people often forget the statistic amount of people who actually know what the hell they're talking about. And it's very low. It is less than 10%. Less than 10% know what they're actually talking about. And I constantly deal with a bunch of stupidity, not only in person I deal with stupidity, online I deal with stupidity, mentally I deal with my own stupidity. When I make mistakes, I have to deal with my own stupidity. When people make mistakes, I have to look at their stupidity and go, how do I help this person, or how do I make this person feel worse? I have to do this. This is historically seen. It led to me hitting end of 2025 with numerous deaths recorded on my channel. I've literally mentioned death over and over of high profile figures. Seemingly I don't count like one. I don't count as one seemingly. People still don't see that. I'm like, really? The channel, I posted the most amount of videos last year. More than 2024's videos. So I disagree. No. I am somebody who happens to be spreading the message around and also talking with teams of people who actually genuinely care about their freedoms and their rights, and who genuinely will actually go to the court to fight their fucking brains out, right? To pass a point. And not everybody can do that because they're either a bunch of wusses and not doing anything with their life, right? Chit chatter. In this channel, chit chatter is not going to make me $1 million. We actually have to take action. Yes, I had to start learning how to do action. There was an entire stream where I literally went and participated in one of the No Kings Day protests where there were hundreds of people outside where I lived, outside where I live, and I recorded the entire protest in 4K on my phone, and I sent photos and even got cadets to start protesting within their country, the No Kings Day protest, along with other people. And I met some really great people, and I had some crazy experience, right? And I met some really nice people, and also some really awful people, but nice people generally. I care more about the the very kind people who talk to me. Numerous streaming events, numerous collaborations on this channel, right? Numerous times on this channel, I invited international speakers on this channel because I wanted to show people, no, I'm international. I'm not just a nationalist going around saying I love my country a lot and saying a bunch of useless shit about it, right? And why I have to record it here, right? It's because a bunch of my viewers, after they see this video, which is about to be edited later, while I'm speaking and just standing still in a Roblox game right now, most people don't understand what I'm trying to do here, is when I edit the video, there has to be images put on the screen so people can see what I'm actually talking about. This is the really annoying part about being a content creator. When you edit stuff, you have to look at the same screen for a bunch of time just to say things so that I don't have to cut in and make a second take or something. But besides that, sidetracking, I'm only playing this game with my Roblox avatar, a female Roblox avatar. This is something people notice on my channel, which I've been doing. Why? Why did I do this? Because people can't look at a male on the screen, right? Talk about a bunch of serious things and pay attention for over 30 seconds. I'm afraid most people who often go to their channel have the minds of TikTok children who can't focus for over 30 seconds unless a pretty attractive girl is on screen, right? So if I couldn't approach the younger audiences or the 40-year-old audiences, I said, why don't I go for the 20-30-year-old audiences? And so my channel now has a demographics majority of a bunch of 20-year-olds watching this channel and a bunch of girls watching this channel. You know how insane that statistic is? Editor me, show the statistic of the male to female graphic audience measurement, right? show that statistic, and you're gonna see over 30% of people who watched this channel the past year were all females. Oh, less than 70% were males. That is an insane ratio. You don't know how hard it is to get a really dominant female audience on the channel where male is the main lead. You know how rare that is? I don't go around wearing chains looking white and having taper fades and stuff like that to get this specific ratio distribution of audiences watching this channel. I did this solely by putting a female Roblox character in the middle of the screen, talking, putting images on my screen, and people started paying attention. They can't see a man. They don't want to look at a man. They want to look at a girl. And so here's something I did. On this channel, I did this specific social experiment where I suddenly put my pronouns as she, her on this channel. On YouTube, you can actually put pronouns on your account. And so I put those pronouns on this account as she, her to see if it does something. And yes, it did came in with viewers rolling in really immediately going, oh, it's a girl. And until they click the video, they hear the voice of a male. Great, you're in the video. Now you're paying attention. The thumbnails are meant to basically reel in people on purpose. It's like saturated, right? It's their thing YouTubers do every time. If anybody tries to say anything about my thumbnails one more fucking time again and try to compare me to Mr. Beast, get the fuck out of here, start your own channel and see how hard it actually is. Exactly. Alright. Now that I got that point across, this video is gonna be stupidly long. I went from X over to here, but we're gonna go back on X. Right? This is a rare time, this is a rare event, right? Because this age verification thing is gonna be wrong. We're gonna do something really crazy in this video. I'm gonna join Brookhaven, right? A game people have been known me for, right? Who I got famous from. I got famous from Brookhaven. I got famous from music compilations. I got famous for my edits. I got famous for the memes I invented. Stuff like that. But that's not what I am, right? We're gonna join in the Brookhaven. And we're gonna try to spark up a conversation with somebody in the game, right? With all the age verification and censorship going on. If I'm not able to talk to anybody in 10 servers at all, this will show you just how severe the effect this entire age verification and censorship is on the scale that's happening. So we're gonna do it right now. You can't see my screen because editor me is gonna have a field day with this and he's gonna go, ah. Unfortunately, that's how it is. That's just how it is. We're gonna go into Brookhaven, a game I don't think I would expect it to join again. Alright, here we go. Alright, here we go. Crazy avatars. Alright. I'm gonna stand right here. And I'm gonna test something. I'm gonna say, is anyone in game? And if nobody responds to me, it is doomed. Right? This entire place is doomed. If anyone is in game right now, speak to me in this instant. Did you get blocked from chat? Alright, one player teleported. Okay, one person. Only one person is speaking. AV got a lot of people screwed. We're gonna do this in one take. I'm not even gonna edit this. Like, only the parts where I'm obviously silent, right? But like, not this part. I don't want people to see it. We got a lot of people screwed. I'm recording. Alright. What's up, YouTube? Alright, we got one person. One person. So you all know. I'm gonna open a server list, and you're gonna look at all these players in the game right now. Only one person is speaking. Only one. Why? Age grouping, age verification, legal status, right? When that happens, if say I'm 20 right now, it says that I'm confirmed as a 20-year-old in Roblox, right? Anybody who is not in that age range of 18 to 20 cannot talk to me. If they are 16, 15 years old, they cannot talk to me. What do I mean by that? I said this early on in the video. Chat, VC, friends, social links, rhetoric, outside links, apparel, sales, trade outs, all that is affected by age verification. Only one person was able to talk to me in this game. 1. We're gonna join a second game. So you all know, because when people don't verify on Roblox, so you all know, you don't have the ability to even interact with people. You're just in a game as a ghost. You can't even see people talking. They can't even talk to you. They can't send messages to you. They can't even roleplay with you. This is a roleplay game, so you all know roleplay games would be hit really hard in this, right? All those YouTubers that I know personally, just so you all know, again, I've been around on YouTube for a stupidly long time. All those roleplay channels are gonna be absolutely fucked, right? They're gonna be actually screwed. They're gonna actually whine. All right, I joined the same server. Let's just join this, reload the server, descending, and then we're gonna go down a few, join a late server. All right, I don't care you. All right, one singular person saw my chat. Only one person. One. No, there we go. Two. There's two. Only 2 people. Anyone else? Roblox. Only 2 people actually saw my chat. That's fucking insane. Alright, we're gonna join another server. Alright, we're gonna refresh. Alright, 3rd server. We're gonna go for a 3rd server. Let me close out these pages so that, you know, my computer doesn't just go, you know, so it doesn't suffer. Alright, we're in another server. Okay, this is a 3rd server. We have a bit of action. Is anyone there? Roblox AV has just passed. Roblox AV has just passed. Is anyone in the game? Only one singular person is speaking. Does anyone see my chat? This is the 3rd game right now. 3rd game. No, absolutely not a single. No, just okay. 2 people. That's 2 people. This is gonna get worse. This is gonna get like really real. Like as I continue, we're gonna notice more players, right? Not being able to speak to me because I can't see their chat. This age verification thing, by the way, is absolutely despicable to do. I don't know why Roblox decided to do this, but you know. Okay, we have 1 person. Is anyone there? Roblox AV has just passed. I can't see their chats. Alright, we have a few people in the server that's able to talk to me. But we have all of these players in the game. Back then, when I used to join a game, you know what? I think I got the point. It's 4 games already. This is our 4th server. I think the point's already passed. It's already passed. I don't think I had to explain anything else. When I joined games back in the day, people immediately engaged with the specific chats I send, and they would not hesitate to give me a response. Now they won't pass. You can't see any of them. Alright. With it, we're gonna include a bit of a few things, right? I bet these people fake their verification, the ones in the server I'm in right now. Stay safe out there. It makes the intro quite nice, right? This makes the intro, the amount of copyrighted music I'm gonna have to filter out of here after this is gonna be insane. By the way, stay safe out there, share kindness, protest peacefully, know your rights, and inform leaders out there. What do you say about me is what you say about society. Happy 2026. Don't do stupid things. Don't use violence. Last thing you ever need to do, right? Don't discriminate people, don't be racist. And not all your favorite content creators are all Einsteins. In an age of misinformation where facts are for some reason considered a form of harassment, for some reason. That's all I have to say.